Well, welcome everyone to this podcast. My name is Duke Clark, and this is the podcast that I'm doing for Stories for Joshua, and it is day 8. Now, I know I said I might take the weekend off, but it feels like I'm on a roll, so I'm just going to keep going. So, day 8 is titled Mama Was a Rock Star. All the McIntyre children, my mama's side of the family, were overachievers from everything that I can tell. If you remember, I said that both Poppy and Nana, those were the names that we called our grandparents on mama's side, were college graduates. Now, please consider we are talking about two people born in the late 1800s. Of course, Nana went to a girls' school, as all women did in those days, but still, that's a pretty amazing accomplishment. There were 9 McIntyre children, all amazing in their own right, 3 boys and 6 girls. There was a standing joke I heard many times that if you gave the McIntyre girls half a chance, they would take over the world. I think it was my Uncle Kenneth that said that. He would know, being one of the brothers. But knowing those women, I'm sure he was right. These were smart, well-read go-getters. For example, my Uncle Kenneth was too short to qualify to be a pilot in the American Air Force during World War II. So rather than just take that, he went to England and joined the RAF and flew for England. So you can imagine how competitive it must have been at home with all those children, even though they were spread out a bit. As I said earlier, Mama had to leave school because she got pregnant with me. But that didn't stop her. Because of her home economics background from what she had taken in college, she became a dietitian at a school in Mississippi, where we lived at that time. But the career I remember most was her job as the executive director of the Eastern North Carolina Tuberculosis Association. Now that's a mouthful. While she also did a TV show called Hospitality House, where she interviewed guests, cooked recipes, and had her own type of, I guess, like a Today Show, before that was even a thing. I didn't think much of it. It was Mama, and that's just what she did. But other people thought she was a TV star. On one show, she sat in a raft in the front yard of the TV station while the U.S. Coast Guard flew over and, quote, rescued her by pulling her up into a helicopter. Looking back, she was pretty amazing with all that she juggled while putting up with Daddy and raising me and my sister. She didn't back down from anything and made no excuses. Just took it on and did whatever she could do. My sister Debbie is like that, driven and unstoppable. To this day, Debbie will not take a nap during the day and still run circles around her grandchildren. Divorce was a big deal in the South in the 60s. You just stuck it out. That's what you were supposed to do. That was your lot in life. But Daddy was getting too volatile, too angry, and even though she had been physically hurt several times, maybe she thought it would be me or Debbie at some point that would get physically hurt. The last house we lived in Memorial Drive, had been visited by the police several times because the neighbors heard the fighting and called somebody. Mama had a lot of friends around town, and a number of them knew how bad it was. So in the spring of 1966, she had the sheriff come to the house and tell Daddy he had an hour to pack and leave. There was a restraining order against him that he could not come back into Greenville, and so he left. I'll say more about this later. It all worked out for Mama in the end. About 3 years later, she met a wonderful man who would become my stepfather, Swede Nixon. I'll say more about him and how much he blessed our family later, but Mama finally had a man who loved her and treated her like a queen. Swede was financially well off, as they say, so Mama didn't go back to work. Although she helped Swede in his private business later in their marriage, she was just happy to be at home cooking, canning, and being a housewife and mother. When Mama died, I did the funeral. not an easy task by any stretch of the imagination, but it did give me a very public platform to once again thank Swede for taking such good care of Mama. Well, that's it for today, and I will talk to you next time.